Video going here.
Okay,
There we are.
okay. I'm Eduardo Van Genel.
Hi, Eduardo.
Yeah, and here is Salvador. He's the host of Soundchaser.
Hi Dave, many thanks.
So, let me tell you, Soundchaser is a program specialized in prog rock, which has been on the air for more than 5 years now. So it's an honor for us having you considering us this interview.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Many thanks, Dave Meros.
We would like to have a general view about your career, your development as a musician, and we'd like to ask you how did you get started in music?
It all started when my dad bought a little piano. I think one of his friends was selling some junky upright piano. I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and I was interested in that. He asked me if I wanted to take lessons, and I said, yeah, sure. And so I took classical piano for, maybe 5 years. I was getting pretty good on that too. And then I got into maybe 7th or 8th grade and wanted to be in the band. So I started playing also brass instruments like trumpet and French horn and tuba and trombone. Then I stopped taking piano lessons because I moved to a different city, and my new teacher was not very interesting. So I got disinterested in piano, stayed with the brass instruments, and then was playing brass instruments in college. And one of my friends was starting a band, and they needed a bass player, and so they asked me to play bass. And I knew a little bit about guitar. I knew where the strings were and the notes and stuff, but I never really played. I said, well, I can't play bass. And he goes, yeah, you can do it, man, come on. And then I said, well, I don't have a bass. It's like, the guitar player has a bass. I don't have an amp. The guitar player has an amp. Okay, I'll do it. So I was 20 then. That's when I started playing bass.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Can you give me a second so I can translate to our listeners?
Oh, sure, sorry.
No, don't worry, thank you. Bueno, empezamos agradeciendo a la entrevista a Dave Meros. Le presentamos el programa de Soundchaser, que decimos que ya lleva más de 5 años al aire, especializado en rock progresivo, y pues le preguntamos cómo se inició en la música. Dice él que entre los 8 y los 9 años empezó a tomar clases de piano, aprovechando que su papá tenía por ahí un piano. Posteriormente se interesó en los instrumentos de viento y estaba bastante involucrado en eso, pero que finalmente se cambió de residencia y el maestro que tenía no le llamaba mucho la atención, no le ayudó mucho a desarrollarse como músico y perdió interés. Y finalmente dice que por ahí surgió la oportunidad de tocar como bajista. Cuando él sabía un poquito de guitarra, pues se ofreció que él tocara el bajo, no tenía bajo, el guitarrista tenía uno, se lo prestó, y estamos hablando de cuando él tenía ya 20 años. Yeah, and then you got hooked up on bass. You really liked it, or how did you become a full-time bass player?
Oh yeah, the first time I put it on, I played a couple notes and said, why didn't I start this first? This is where I belong. This is my instrument.
And how about your main influences? Well, I told you in some chat we had that I remember reading about Spock's Beard the first time in a Rush fan magazine where they interviewed Mike Portnoy. Mike Portnoy strongly recommended Spock's Beard. And I said, well, let's take a look. In a record store here in Mexico, I found The Light, and I started listening to it, which caught me immediately was your bass sound. So I think you're mainly responsible for me becoming a Spock's Beard fan.
That's great, thanks.
Okay, le preguntamos a Dave que cómo fue que se convirtió en bajista de tiempo completo, y dice que en cuanto se puso el bajo, se colgó el instrumento, 1 o 2 notas, y dice, caray, pues esto me encanta, ¿por qué es que no empecé en esto antes? Y le comento pues de sus influencias, porque la primera vez que yo escuché a Spock's Beard por una recomendación, una revista de fans de Rush hecha por Mike Portnoy, pues me atrapó el sonido del bajo de Dave Meros. So which influences were part of your development as a bass player?
Well, I realized when I started playing bass that in my head I was a bass player my whole life. Because I knew all the bass parts from going back to my childhood. I mean, Paul McCartney was a huge influence on me. To this day, I think he's one of the best bass players for creativity and just cool bass sounds. And
Completely agree.
James Jamerson, you know, all of the Motown guys, Carol Kay. I mean, and then I got into high school a little bit later. I got into you know, John Entwistle and Chris Squire, of course, and also Rocco Prestia from Tower of Power. You know, all of those guys made me think that bass was really cool, and it all came kind of flooding back to me once I started playing bass. It was like a lot of the reason I like music is because of those bass players, and I had really keyed in on those bass parts. I listened to bass even when I was a kid and didn't play bass. I listened to bass more than anything else in a song. So, you know, there were a lot of those early 60s and 70s guys that were huge influences on me.
Ok. Le preguntamos acerca de sus influencias y dice él que pues desde muy pequeño tenía los sonidos del bajo en su cabeza al escuchar la música, y que pues para él la principal y la original influencia fue Paul McCartney, que pues sus sonidos, la creatividad de Paul McCartney lo atrapó, y que posteriormente pues ya se fue metiendo en otros influencias de otros bajistas del sonido Motown. Habla él de James Jamerson, Francis Rocco Prestia de Tower of Power, y posteriormente pues ya los clásicos más apegados al rock progresivo, que podría ser John Entwistle, de Chris Squire. Y tenía, pues él se dio cuenta de que él lo que recordaba siempre de la música pues eran las partes de bajo, como que él dice que ya lo traía como parte de él.
Muy bien. Señor Dave Meros, muchas gracias nuevamente de parte de Salvador Valencia, un servidor. Yo dirijo el programa, pero realmente es un programa que hacemos todos los fans del rock progresivo, y obviamente pues una de las cosas que más apreciamos es la ejecución de cada exponente en su instrumento. En este caso nos encanta la ejecución que usted hace en Spock's Bird, porque efectivamente es el bajo que esperamos, un bajo ejecutor, no nada más un bajo de acompañamiento, sino un bajo que nos deje con un muy buen sabor de boca, con un bajo que toque unas líneas que nos hagan ver que efectivamente está un instrumento ahí, no nada más para llenar una banda. Y pues bueno, de antemano una felicitación y un agradecimiento por su trabajo.
Okay, let me translate then for you. Salvador is thanking you again for your kind collaboration with us. Even though he is the host of the program, he says that this is a program made up with real fans of prog rock music, and we like to share our experiences and everything we can give to enhance the enjoyment of listening to prog rock. He says that he really appreciates your style of playing, and that what he expects from a concert listening to you is that the bass guitarist stars in the music. It's not only an accompaniment of our drums, but he's like a special part of the music that you play live.
Well, thanks. That's great to hear. That's what I try to do. Try to stick out a little bit more than I would in another band, you know.
¿Qué instrumento en particular, qué marca de bajo prefiere Dave Meros? ¿Qué instrumento le gusta que suene mejor? ¿Con qué algunos otros aditamentos, algunos otros complementos haces que suene esas líneas de bajo como las que toca Dave Meros en Spock's Bird?
Which is your main instrument? Which instrument you play? And how do you get? How do you develop the signature sound you have with Spock's Bird?
Well, when Spock's Beard started, I had never been in a progressive rock band before. So I figured, okay, prog rock, I need to get a Rickenbacker. So I got a Rickenbacker and played, I had a white one. It was completely stock, and I played that for maybe the first 10 years of Spock's Beard. And then I got an old black Rickenbacker and modified it because I wanted it to sound like a Rickenbacker or Fender.
Okay.
So I had this black one that was kind of a combination of both. It was kind of a project bass, I guess you'd say. And I had that up until about a year ago. And I sold that when we were raising money for our CD. And I didn't think it would really sell, but it sold. So it's gone. So I had to get another bass, and I did another project bass. It was made from a Chinese Music Man copy, and the company is called OLP.
Mm-hmm.
And they were inexpensive Music Man copies. I had an idea for a project, and so I got that bass specifically for that and did all this stuff to it, and it didn't work. So I took that out and put in, well, without getting boring with all the details, I made the OLP sound exactly like my Black Rick, just with different pickups in certain places. It was kind of a project to see if I could grab the essence of a Rickenbacker and apply it to another kind of bass.
Okay.
And it sounds awesome. It doesn't look as cool as my Rickenbacker, but it sounds really good.
Well, can't wait to hear in concert. Let me translate. Sí le preguntamos acerca de qué instrumento usa, qué efectos usa, cómo logra su sonido particular. Y dice que pues antes de estar en Spock's Beard nunca había estado él en una banda de rock progresivo y que dijo, bueno, pues voy a tocar progresivo, pues necesito un Rickenbacker. Entonces que tenía un Rickenbacker como tal, blanco, lo usó durante 10 años, pero después encontró un Rickenbacker negro y le hizo muchas modificaciones porque él también quería que sonara como un Fender. That's why they call it the Fenderbacker, I think.
Right.
Okay. Y dice que pues ese bajo lo tenía, pero que hace un poco más de un año tuvieron que venderlo porque pues empezaron a juntar dinero para su disco más reciente. Y pues consiguió una copia de un bajo Music Man hecho en China y le hizo muchas modificaciones, pero pues no funcionó como él quería y finalmente ya ahorita tiene un bajo que ya tiene las modificaciones, que logró el sonido Rickenbacker, pero también con la posibilidad de que sonara como otros bajos y que dice no se ve tan bien, tan atractivo como un Rickenbacker, pero pues el sonido es tremendo. Okay.
Como fans, como escuchas, como asiduos al rock progresivo, identificamos bien el sonido del Rickenbacker, lo relacionamos mucho con ese rock progresivo de los 70s, pero como músico, ¿qué le encuentra Dave Meros a un bajo Rickenbacker? ¿Por qué es tan atractivo?
As prog rock fans, we quickly identified the sound of the Rickenbacker bass on the classic prog from the 70s. But since your personal point of view, what makes the Rickenbacker so attractive as an instrument?
One thing is the way it looks. I mean, that was what initially attracted me to it. They're just a beautiful shape. Then the sound, they're easy to play. They have a kind of a really fast neck, so they're easy to play. And the pickups on them, well, in the 60s, they were very high-tech basses. They've never really improved the technology too much since the 60s, but they have those two pickups that are a little bit farther towards the neck than on a Fender jazz bass, and that gives it its particular sound. Like the neck pickup is very throaty and a lot of low end and power, and the back pickup is real punchy. A little bit, it's right in between a precision bass and a jazz bass back pickup, so it's a good spot for the other pickup. It's kind of a one of those inventions that has a very identifiable sound and look, and you can't really get. There's not too many basses that have that sound.
Okay. Dice que al principio pues él escogió el Rickenbacker porque pues la forma le encanta, ¿no? Yo creo que en eso coincidimos muchos. Well, I'm saying that it's our particular favorite bass, starting from the way it looks.
Yeah.
Entonces dice él que en la época en que salió el Rickenbacker era un instrumento muy avanzado. Dice que no han hecho muchas mejoras a lo largo del tiempo, pero en la forma en que están dispuestas las pastillas, los pickups, le dan un sonido muy particular que podía colocarlo entre el Fender Precision y el Jazz Bass, y que además que es muy fácil para tocar, según él, tiene un acceso muy sencillo para las notas altas. Okay, I would like to know how you got started with Spock's Beard. What led you to be in the band?
I met Alan and Neil in the 80s sometime, just through friends, how one musician meets another musician, and I met Alan and Neil and was involved with them on a couple small things. I was never really in a band with them, but I recorded with them a few times, and we were friends. We got along really well. And in 1992, when Al and Neil started Spock's Beard, they wanted to create a band, and originally they used another bass player for I think 1 or 2 shows they did, and then they just kind of stopped for a while and then started again in 1993, and they wanted to use a different bass player for some reason, so they called me to see if I'd be interested in doing it. I don't know why, but they didn't think I'd want to do it, because it was progressive rock, I guess. And I just heard the tape, and it's like, wow, this isn't really what I know really good. So, I mean, this is going to be a challenge for me, and it's going to be great. So I just went and did it. I have a funny story too. That was back in the days of cassette tapes, and the tape that Neil made for me was on an old cassette player that was the wrong speed. And so I learned all of the songs in 1/2 step wrong key.
Okay.
And so I went to the rehearsal, and it's like, okay, go, here we go, And I started playing, and it was, completely the wrong key. And I was like, oh no, what do I do now? So what I should have done is just tune my bass 1/2 step for that rehearsal. But I panicked. I just tried to play everything in a different key than I learned it, and it was really embarrassing. So, but I relearned all the songs in the correct key and came back the next time, and it was better.
I'm sure it was. Let me translate.
Yeah.
Le preguntamos que cómo se involucró, cómo entró a Spock's Beard. Y dice él que pues en los 80s conoció a Alan y a Neil Morse, que pues se hicieron amigos, que incluso llegaron a grabar algunas cosas juntos, y que cuando empezaron con Spock's Beard en el 92, empezaron con otro bajista que llegaron a tocar por ahí 2 shows con él, y pues suspendieron la actividad con la banda y la retomaron por ahí por el 93, 94, y fue cuando se acercaron a él para ver si quería ser el bajista. Dice que ellos pensaron que no iba a querer, pero que él dijo, pues rock progresivo, pues va a ser un reto, y pues le entró al asunto. Y dice que tiene una anécdota simpática al respecto, porque Neil le dio en un cassette la música que él tenía que tocar con ellos, pero que estaba en una velocidad diferente, o sea, como tal vez más lento, pero no era realmente el tono. Entonces él llegó muy ensayado según ese cassette, y a la hora de tocar no tenía nada que ver con lo que estaban tocando. Entonces pues no supo qué hacer, trataba de ponerse ahí a tocar lo correcto. Dice, pues me entró el pánico, dice, y lo que pudo haber sido fue afinar el bajo diferente para tocar las partes y después aprenderlas. Pero pues finalmente pues ya tuve la oportunidad de aprender correctamente, dice, y pues ya se quedó en la banda.
Excelente. Hablamos un poco acerca de su experiencia anterior en Mexicali.
Okay, bueno, sí, le iba a preguntar acerca
Tú dime.
well, before getting to hear your impressions about Mexicali, because we know that you have already been there. I'm a good friend of Mario Miranda, who took you to play there. And
Great band.
I know that you also were involved in some other projects, especially I have a DVD where you play with Eric Burden along with Neil Morse. I read an anecdote that you were the member of Eric's band, which had been playing with him the most.
Yeah. I played with Eric for 16 years, and actually I played with Eric in Mexico City 2 times.
Really?
Yeah, they were great shows, crazy shows. I mean, one was right when I first started with Eric in 1990, and Robbie Krieger was in the band from the Doors. And we played, I guess there was some kind of restriction on bands coming into Mexico City for many years, and right around that time they lifted the restriction. So it was really special for an American band to be down there, and people were really excited. And we were playing in a big sports stadium, and there was some technical problems, and we were like waiting, and it was getting kind of late, and the crowd started getting really excited, and it started getting kind of like scary. I mean, it got really loud. And we walked on stage, and it was the loudest sound I've ever heard before, like 10,000 people just yelling and throwing things on stage, you know, coins and little trinkets, and it was a great show. It was really high energy. But I had a really good time in Mexico City. I went out exploring on my own and found the little art district. I can't remember what it was called, and bought a bunch of traditional Mexican artwork pieces, and I really love that kind of stuff. Actually, the Posada and the whole Day of the Dead thing, and it's my favorite style of art.
Great. So that was going to be one of our questions. If you have ever been to Mexico City, so you have been not only once but twice. So that's great. Let me tell our listeners about this. Le comentamos antes de proseguir con lo relativo a Spock's Beard, que pues sabemos que él ha estado que estuvo tocando con Eric Burdon, y dice que efectivamente que estuvo tocando con Eric Burdon por 16 años, y que incluso vino 2 veces con la banda de Eric Burdon aquí en México, que la primera fue por allá por el 90, que incluso venía Robbie Krieger, el guitarro de los Doors, con ellos, y dice que pues él supo que en ese entonces tenía poco de haberse levantado las restricciones para que vinieran a presentarse los conciertos aquí, y que cuando se presentó, que fue un estadio con 10,000 personas, que nunca había escuchado un ruido tan fuerte, que la gente aventando cosas, y que un momento se puso tan alborotada la gente que sí se asustaron algo. Pero también dice que tiene muy buenos recuerdos de la Ciudad de México, porque él decidió salir por su cuenta y buscó artesanías. Dice que le llama mucho la atención las artesanías del Día de Muertos, incluso de las épocas navideñas, y las posadas, y que pues es de su artesanía favorita, que compró muchas cosas, y que es de sus artesanías favoritas, las artesanías mexicanas. You have recorded every Spock's Beard album. Do you have a special appreciation for one record or some records in particular?
I always, I would have to say my favorite Spock's Beard record would be, I like them all very close, but if I had to pick one, it would probably be Beware of Darkness.
That's my personal favorite.
For a lot of different reasons. I think some of those songs, Walking on the Wind and I can't think of the name right now, the last one, The Time Has Come.
Time Has Come, yeah.
And just there's some beautiful, beautiful songs on that. Plus the time that was recorded. it was a really magical time in Spock's Beard history because we started just for fun. We didn't think it would ever become a real band. We just were fooling around with progressive rock. And then one thing happened and another thing happened and we became a band. And there was a lot of excitement within the band about this thing that was happening. And that's when we recorded our second record. When that was the one that we were really starting to get serious. And it was just a really high energy and magical time for the band. And so, you know, that was a special time in my life, and also I really liked the music. And I got a sound on my bass that was kind of accidental. I was trying to get the sound that I usually have, but I had some new equipment and I couldn't really get that sound. And I was kind of disappointed in it for a while, but now I really like that sound. It's different than any other CD that we did. So there's a lot of reasons I kind of like that record. Kevin Gilbert mixed about half of it, and that was right when he died.
Wow.
He was right in the middle of mixing our record. So, you know, that record kind of means, it has that special meaning too. And being in his studio and hearing how he mixed things, and I don't know, it was a really great time musically and also personally. You know, I was just really enjoying the whole experience then. I think that carried over a little bit to why I might have that record as our favorite one.
Great. Le preguntamos, bueno, le comentamos que pues él está en todos los discos de Spock's Beard. Como bajista le preguntamos si tiene especial aprecio por alguno de esos discos en particular, y dice que pues todos le gustan, todos son muy cercanos a él, pero que si se viera forzado a elegir uno favorito sería el Beware of Darkness. Dice que era una época de mucha emoción en la banda, de mucho interés, que ya empezaron a verlo como algo serio, que podía durar, podía seguir adelante. Y las canciones, Walking on the Wind, Time Has Come, o sea, canciones que son muy especiales para él. Otra cosa, dice que el sonido del bajo que quería dar en ese disco, sí, en ese álbum, pues le costó trabajo porque estaba con un equipo que no había utilizado antes, pero que finalmente fue muy especial. Yo en lo personal me gusta mucho, tiene una versión de Beware of Darkness de George Harrison, de hecho le da nombre al disco, y pues el sonido del bajo está excelente, clarísimo. Tiene una canción que se llama Thoughts, que me encanta, un juego de voces completamente tipo Gentle Giant. Sí, otra cosa que dice que es muy significativa para él, que la grabaron en el estudio de Kevin Gilbert, y Kevin Gilbert es un músico de progresivo reconocido, de los pioneros de esa oleada que viene de Los Ángeles. Incluso participaba en un tributo a Genesis, tocando The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, un músico muy talentoso, pero que lamentablemente falleció en esa época. Entonces se volvió muy especial para él esa época.
La mitad de una mezcla, ¿no?
Así, a la mitad de la mezcla falleció Kevin Gilbert. Entonces tiene varias razones para considerar este disco como algo especial.
Muy bien. ¿Algo en particular?
Sí, le voy a preguntar acerca de cómo han manejado la banda los cambios. We'd like to know if we know that the classic Spock's Beard was no more when Neil decided to have a solo career. How has the rest of the band handled the changes in personnel, starting with Nick becoming the lead singer, bringing Jimmy to play drums, and then Nick leaving and bringing Ted, which, by the way, we just saw 2 days ago with Transatlantic here in Mexico. We had the pleasure, myself, of meeting Neil Morse for the 4th time, and meeting Ted, and telling him how excited I am to go and see the Beard in Mexicali. So how have those situations been handled by the rest of the band?
Well, the first time when Neil left, it was really a strange situation, because I mean, Neil was the entire band. He wrote every song. He wrote all of our parts for us. He would record complete demos, and we'd just learn the songs. And we would go in and change things when we went to record. We changed little things to kind of make it our own. But it was almost like, you know, he left and it was like, well, there's, you know, what are we going to do now? It was at a time when the band was really starting to peak too. We were selling a lot of CDs, and there was an excitement, and we were growing and growing, and you know, we just all really loved playing with each other, and we didn't want it to end. So we had a meeting and said, well, can we keep going? And we just kind of decided it doesn't matter. We just have to try. You know, we're just going to try to do it. Maybe we'll get one CD out and that'll be it. You know, we might fail, we might be successful. It doesn't matter. We just want to keep going. So we did that, and that Feel Euphoria record was kind of an experiment. You know, it took us a while to really find a new sound, and you know, we eventually did. Then we were going along quite nicely. You know, we released 10, the 10th CD, and that one, once again, we kind of gained a little bit more momentum, and we were just starting to get our feet. And then Nick started with Cirque du Soleil a couple of years before that, and you know, it was a great opportunity for him to provide for his family, but he was traveling around the world all the time and didn't really have any time where we could plan to do anything with Spock's Beard. And we tried to work things in for a couple of years, and it just got kind of crazy, and we all kind of realized that if Spock's Beard was going to continue, then, you know, there had to be a change. And so Nick left. He was sad to leave, but, you know, he knew that was where he had to make that decision. So he left, and getting Jimmy in was, we didn't even have to think about that because he's been playing with us for 10 years. And we knew Ted from, for a long time, really. In 1999, when we did our Day 4 Night tour in Europe, we played, Enchant was our opening band.
Great band.
And so we met Ted in 1999, and then we did another tour in 2000 and I don't know, so soon after, it was 2003 or 2004, something like that. It was with the Flower Kings. No, it was an Enchant, California Guitar Trio, and Spock's Beard.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we met Ted again, and then I moved up to Northern California from Los Angeles, and Ted lived in the San Francisco area, and he moved also to the same town I was living in. So we started a cover band together, and we're playing, you know, in clubs and for weddings and things, and
Yeah.
and so then it became time we needed a singer, and so I said, well, Ted, there's, you know, that's the best choice I can think of. And the guys in the band just go, yeah, Ted would be great. So he was in. We didn't really think too much about it. We just go, Ted would work. Let's do it. And we asked Ted if he wanted to do it, and he said, sure. So that was the end of the story.
He's been involved in some other projects, but I think the Thought Chamber, I don't know if Enchant is in a hiatus or are they going to play again, but Ted is now a permanent member of Spock's Beard.
Yeah. Enchant is also still going. They're recording right now, in fact.
Right.
They should have an album out this year.
That's very good.
Excellent.
Bueno, le preguntamos que, pues, cómo ha manejado el resto de la banda de Spock's Beard, pues los cambios de personal que ha habido, ya varios de ellos, y pues empezando con el principal, que fue la salida de Neil Morse. Y dice que sí fue algo especial, porque no sabían ni qué hacer, porque pues Neil era la banda, según palabras de Dave Meros. Neil era la banda, él hacía toda la música, él hacía todas las partes y nada más se las daba para que las aprendieran. Todos los demos lo grababa y se los daba para que lo aprendieran, y pues ya cada quien hacía modificaciones sobre la marcha para hacerlo más propio, pero que cuando lo dejaron, pues los dejó, estaban alcanzando un momento cúspide de su popularidad, de su desarrollo, y pues pensaron qué hacer y finalmente decidieron hacer un disco más a ver qué pasaba. Y pues siguieron grabando. Nick de Virgilio fue ahora el cantante y trajeron a Jimmy Keegan a la batería en las partes donde Nick no podía tocar por ser frontman. Y que nuevamente llegaron al 10º álbum y ya estaban otra vez alcanzando ese nivel de popularidad. Pero Nick de Virgilio ya había tenido oportunidad de trabajar en Cirque du Soleil y ya estaban 2 años yendo y viniendo con la banda. Y se volvió un momento muy complicado y pues él lo vio como una buena oportunidad para asegurar el futuro de su familia, lo vieron el resto de los integrantes y pues fue que se salió. Jimmy pues ya tenía 10 años tocando la batería con ellos y pues era la opción natural. Y Dave resulta que ya conocían a Ted Leonard, al cual acabamos de ver aquí con Transatlantic, desde el 99, en el cual les abrió una gira Spock en Europa. Después lo volvieron a ver en una gira donde coincidieron con The Flower King y con California Guitar Trio. Y después resultó que Dave del área de Los Ángeles se fue a vivir al norte de California, cerca donde vivía Ted, se veían. Luego Ted se cambia al lugar donde vive Dave. Y pues incluso hicieron una banda de covers que hasta pues, se tocaba en fiestas y todo. Y que a la hora de tener que escoger a otro cantante, pues él sugirió a Ted y pues todos estuvieron de acuerdo. Ted todavía, pues ahorita está con Transatlantic, pero ya está grabándose el nuevo disco de Enchant y al mismo tiempo ya es el cantante permanente de Spock.
Muy bien. Dave, obviamente son muchos años de Spock's Beard, pero seguramente como músico tienes algún recuerdo, alguna anécdota especial, algún momento muy particular de algún concierto, alguna grabación. Ya nos hablaste acerca de por qué te era tan emotivo el álbum Beware of Darkness, perdón, pero algún pasaje particular de esa vida de músico, de bajista de Spock's Beard.
You already told us about your album, which is closer to your heart, to your feelings. But with so many years playing Spock's Beard, you have some other anecdote, a special anecdote, be it in concert, be it recording, and which has you have fond memories of?
Oh, there are really a lot of great memories. Some of them I can't repeat on it. Well, the one that always comes to my mind first is it was right after the album 5V, and we were playing in London, and it was just this amazing experience. It was kind of like, it was the perfect gig. We had more people there than we'd ever played to, and the band just sounded great, and the audience was great, and it just felt like the whole thing was just floating off of the ground. And it was just one of the best musical experiences of my life. I couldn't even talk for about 5 or 10 minutes after the show. I was just kind of overwhelmed by the whole experience. And I remember Neil, we talked about it, he kind of felt the same way after that. And, Spock's Beard has kind of provided me and all the other guys in the band some of those really great moments, in music.
It was a special connection
with the audience.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It was the audience was giving us energy, and we were giving them energy, and it just kept going back and forth and getting more and more. It was kind of like, I don't know, almost supernatural. We couldn't have, I don't think any of us could have made a mistake even if we wanted to. It was like the concert was just carrying us, it's hard to explain how it was kind of, I've never experienced anything quite like that before.
Ok, le preguntamos que si, ya nos habló del disco de Spock's Beard, que está así que más cercano a su corazón, tiene un aprecio especial por él, pero alguna otra anécdota significativa, y dice que hay muchas y que muchas no se pueden contar, dice, pero que recuerda una en particular que acaban de grabar el disco 5 de Spock's Beard, y en un concierto en Londres tuvieron tal respuesta.
Quite a long time now, but it's never happened, but I can feel it, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think Baja Prog, these guys that maybe you have heard about, they're going to be a part of it.
Great.
We would like to see you soon and meet us in person, and nice to estrecharle mano.
It's going to be nice to shake hands with you.
All right. Yes.
Many
My
thanks.
pleasure.
Many thanks, Mr. Dave Meros.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bueno, pues la